to be in.
Well, because it's weird if you're not, and there's just some random dude here helping. They're like, hey, who's that guy? And I'm like, well, he never got in the shot, so I never got to tell you who he is.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, that guy. Alex is here, and Sarah's here again, who just ducked down, helping me out today, as you have probably already seen this video. And we've got this. It's a flat piece of sheet metal, 22 gauge. It's not super strong, but we're gonna try to make it strong with this thing. This is a bead roller. It puts beads and shapes into sheet metal to make it stronger, and it also makes it look really cool. I've been wanting an excuse to buy one of these for a really long time, and I finally got one because, well, floor pans for this car are like $300 a piece. I was gonna really have to replace like 3 of them. So with this, I'll be able to make one more accurate patch panels for the front, because the front I don't think is gonna need full panels. And then in the rear, we're gonna make a whole new trunk pan, and I think it's gonna be really cool, hopefully. But I've never used this before, other than the times I played with it when I first got it. Hopefully it looks okay. I do not promise perfection, but I do promise something at the end of all of this. Ow, gloves are cool.
Get it?
Yeah, I'm good. Ooh.
Yeah.
It hurts.
What if the Canadians took me back?
Oh, hey, fun fact. For all the Canadian viewers, Sarah is Canadian. She's our resident Canadian.
Resident Canadian.
So shout out to Canada. We do have a lot of viewers in Canada. Alright. How hard is that to crank?
Oh, not very.
Okay, good. We'll fix it with welding,
Just heat it up.
I think. You know what it looks like? What does that look like? Looks like a basketball, doesn't it? Like a flattened basketball. Look at
okay?
it. How it's got the
yeah,
little.
it kind of
Let me
does.
see.
What do you mean it kind of does? That's good, man. Dude, this is like
Sturdy. You want me to punch it?
super strong. Why are you looking at me when you? I don't like it. Stop.
Makes them nervous.
Oh, dude, this is solid, man. This is cool. All right, this is our pattern. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And it's not wanting to bend, which is good. We don't want it to bend. So now, what would be great is if we had a sheet metal brake, like was at Chase's house, to fold these edges, but we do not. So. Alright, so I did not film us test fitting this thing in, but as you can see, it fits pretty well. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but I think it's gonna work. All of this metal is pretty good, so we're gonna tie into this here, and then I've folded this pan up so that I can tie in. I think I'm gonna tie in up here to this stuff, because it's really good, really strong. Everything else is gonna get cut out, I think. We'll see. What I may do under here is cut out the outline, and then once I'm done, come underneath and weld underneath and seal and make sure everything's good and not rusty. Either way though, I think this is gonna work. Now as we're tying it in, we're gonna have to kind of push it flat because of all the beads. It's wanting to kind of bow and do all kinds of weird stuff, but I think that's gonna make it really strong. I'm just guessing, we'll see. You might be wondering why we put a giant square in the middle of this, or something sort of like a square, and this is why. That is a 15-gallon fuel cell. So when I realized that the floor was rusting out and that the gas tank was rusting out, I figured that the gas lines, fuel lines, were probably not any better, and decided to just replace the whole thing, including the floor. So we built this new floor to house this fuel cell. We're going to do a pretty cool mounting system for it to get it in here and slot it down. And then we will run our lines out. Well, it'll be probably single line. It's pretty cool. It's got its own cinder unit, which is awesome. Let's see, this is kind of difficult. There we go. It's got like a safety cap. There's foam inside of this to keep the gas from sloshing around too much. Really nice unit, and it's off of eBay, which is pretty awesome, for like $100. So I'm really happy with it. I think it looks really cool. We're gonna do, if I can figure out how this works. Let's see. Well, you gotta like see how that. You gotta line that up, and then line it up with the holes. I'll get better at it. I think it's gonna look really cool. We're gonna run a full AN setup, I think, on this car, so that'll be really neat. I've never done that before, so we can just try that out. My favorite part, though, is that when you close the deck lid or trunk or whatever this is, you can see the fuel cell in the back, which I think is gonna be really awesome. It's gonna look super cool, and it should work much better than our rusty old gas tank. But before we do this, we gotta get this thing sorted out. So, in order for us to know like where to cut, all I'm gonna do is take some spray paint and just outline the entire piece of metal. And so now we'll let that dry for a minute and then pull the metal up, and then we'll have a perfect outline of what we need to cut. That's how this is cool. So you guys know I'm not super big into safety. I mean, I think it's important to be safe to an extent. But I've been doing a lot of painting in my shop, which doesn't have great ventilation. I do a lot of work inside of cars, which obviously don't have great ventilation, especially like cutting rust and sanding and stuff like that. So I've been working the past probably 2 months putting this kit together. Basically, it's SAR respirator. It's supply to air. So I've got an air pump over there. I've got a 100-foot hose, which is probably overkill. It might be 50. And then my supply to air right here. And it actually works really well. I tested it out. I'm gonna use it in here while I'm cutting, really just to test it some more and make sure this is gonna work out well. Mostly this is gonna be for painting, but if I'm doing some heavy sanding or grinding or something like that, I'm gonna use this too. So you guys that are concerned with my safety, trying to get better, all right? Let's do it. So, our floor pan is out. It feels to be about the same gauge as the one that we got, which is pretty exciting. And it's honestly kind of flimsy. So I'm feeling pretty good about this, the one that we built. It's very stiff, and I think once it's all welded in, it's gonna work really, really well. But this is going to the trash pile. All right, so now we have a giant hole. Just quick update. So we cut out all the sheet metal, and we left right here. This is where the leaf spring mounts. You can actually see that now. So there's a big plate right here that all this is tied into, and I didn't want to disturb any of that. So we left that. I'll come trim kind of closer to it. We'll clean this whole cut up, and then we'll drop the new pan in. Hopefully it fits really well, and then we can start welding. Dude, I did not even know. I thought the shadow was just like Chucky or something. Dude, that's hilarious. I for real wish I had something that just like a belt that did this all the time. It's a good idea. Alright, so I spent last night welding this thing in. Took way longer than I thought it was going to. That's normally the case, but it is in there. It is very strong. Not all these welds are pretty. In fact, a lot of them are not. But they are bonded. You can see like the heat line thingies, don't know what you call those, and fusion lines and all that cool stuff in most of them. So I think it's going to be fine. I probably will smooth these over with some sort of filler or sealer just to make sure that all the holes are sealed up. I am very new to welding, and sometimes there's little holes and stuff that I just don't want to cause me any issues. So we'll see. We'll do something. I haven't figured out what I want to do, but that still fits, which is good. I don't know why it wouldn't. And then as far as strength goes, you can see that I can stand on this, I can jump on it, and it's good. Now you heard it kind of like bend or whatever when I got in. I have a section I'm going to be cutting out. The sump for the tank is actually going to drop down and out underneath, so we'll be able to mount the fuel pump and everything underneath the car. I think it's going to be really clean looking. I think it's going to work really well. And when we cut that out, it's going to give some relief to this metal so that it doesn't pop up and down like that. Plus, I think the tank will kind of hold it down in place as well. Plus, we're going to be doing a kind of similar mounting system to the Datsun seats where the back two tabs, there it goes, the back two tabs are going to slot in through the floor, and then the front tabs will bolt down. That's going to sit the tank further or closer to the rear wheels. It's also going to sit it into this little square that we made for it, and I think it's going to make it fit a little bit better. So that's next. Alright, so how this is going to work, see I cut those two slots. This is going to slot into there. That will hold the back, and then we'll bolt the front down. And I think that's going to be secure enough. If it's not, we'll weld a little angle on the back, and we'll put a bolt underneath the car, basically, to mount the back. But I think this is going to work. We will see. The next thing that's got to happen, now that we have our location, I mean, that is solid. It's not sliding. So we've got to cut out our sump opening. Look around, see? You're in the orange car. Is that cool? What you doing?
Daddy.
Hey.
Make a funny. Can you get the funny faces up? No, the thing that you press and make a funny face.
Like this one?
Yes.
Ha ha ha. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. How about pizza? Mmm.
You can hang up now. I gotta hang up.
Okay, see ya. I don't have any hardware picked out for this yet, so I'm just going to use some stuff that I had. It's just some sort of poorly coated nut and bolt. This is just going to hold it in place. I'm going to probably do some like gold hardware or something. For now though, this will work just to make sure that all of this is going to function. That's mounted, and I mean, that is awesome. The floor, if I lift up on this thing, it'll still pop, but other than that, moving it around back and forth, I can't lift it up from the back. That is so cool. So I have an opening. Just grab the camera and show you guys what we're working with. So we've got our slots back there, so it's slotted in. But I don't think I'm gonna have to secure it more than that. I mean, it is not going anywhere. The whole car is shaking, so that's cool. We've got 2 bolts in here and there to hold the fuel tank in place. No side-to-side movement. I can push down on it There's no flex. That's awesome. You see, here's the hole that I cut. Now I had to make this bigger than I wanted to so that these fittings would fit down underneath there. I think what I may end up doing is creating a little bolt-on piece with riv nuts that just bolts on to cover that so that that's completely clean and sealed, and then you won't be able to see where the hoses come out, which I think will be really cool. You can see I didn't weld this yet because I didn't know what I was going to do here. Now that I know, I can weld that down. We may have to cut it to relieve some of that pressure and pinch it together. I don't know. But if you go down underneath the car, you can see lots of rust. And then this is what we're looking like. So this is the little, there we go, the little piece that I cut out. The new fresh floor pan is in, so we'll need to paint this. And then you've just got your sump that kind of dips out of the bottom down here. Just enough room, I think, for some AN fittings. So we'll connect some AN lines to this. Fuel pump will go somewhere, probably in this area. I think I'll mount it to this new pan, and then we'll run them up to the front. Now, I think I'm going to use the hard lines that are already there. They seem to be working. We'll flush them out and test them and make sure everything's good there. If it is, we'll use the hard lines. If not, we'll run AN all the way up to the front. But we'll just get to that, I guess, when we get to it. I'm ordered all the lines and stuff, so they're not here yet, so this will be the end of this fuel project for now. But you can see back here and right over there are the tabs that are sticking through. Like I said, I don't think we'll need to mount them anything, but worst case scenario, we can always just put a little metal tab and a post to screw down into underneath the car. I'm very happy with how this came out. I think it's very cool. Super unique. I love the tank sits flat on our new floor. I think it's really great. Basically finished. So I went ahead and made this little panel, and this is removable. It's got a little bit of a raise in it that I just used the bead roller to make, and that way it clears the anodized lines. So we'll pull this panel off, screw our lines on, and then drop the panel back on. It'll all be in there really snug, really secure. And with that, I think this is done. Ooh, hot. All right, there we go. It's done. I think it looks really cool. Let me move this out of your way. And not only does it look cool, but it's gonna work. So we've got our new trunk pan with 0 rust on it. We've got our new 15-gallon fuel cell. I'm not sure what the stock fuel gallon or fuel tank size is. Probably around 15, I would guess. So about the same. And I mean, it's mounted in there really, really awesome. I love the way that it slots into place on the back mounts. I love the way that it's just super secure with 2 bolts. I love the way that the sump drops down underneath the car to run all our fuel pumps and lines under there. Super clean. I really just think that it came out really awesome. Now, I know it's all raw metal now and the welds look rough. We're going to smooth that out and paint it and do all that stuff, all the sealing stuff when we get the lines, but I had to order them. So I wanted to get this in here to kind of figure out what lines I needed, figure out what different types of, what do you call them, different types of fittings I was going to need. And so now it's in here, I know what I need. I already ordered it. It should be here in just a few days. So we will run the whole fuel system in just a couple of days. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and work on the clutch system and the brake system. So the next video will be on those things. And we'll try to get this thing actually turning the wheels. That way, when the fuel lines come in, we can route them, plumb them, and drive the car. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Secret word of the day is going to be hood or bonnet if you live over the sea. Hood or bonnet is the secret word of the day. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. All right. Dunzors.